You can start.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a video today because it is a very, very special day for me. Not just because it's Mother's Day, but because it's my vegan birthday. That's right. I've been vegan for a year now and I'm really excited. I'm actually more excited about this day than I am about Mother's Day. So I'm going to try not to cry because it's quite emotional for me. Anyway, so I just thought I get asked a lot of questions and I thought that I'd make a video about the questions that I get asked. So here's just some of the questions.
I'll fire away. What made you become vegan, as you were a huge avid meat eater before?
That's a good question, Michelle.
Thank you.
And one that I get asked a lot. And it simply is, most of you know by now, that my dad died of pancreatic cancer. And that was very hard for me because he was my best friend. And anyhow, I just wanted to research a little bit more as a personal trainer as to how people actually get cancer and why they get cancer in this day and age, because, you know, we've been saying that there's a cure for cancer just around the corner. And must be a fucking long corner because it's been, you know, so many years. But anyhow, I'll try not to rave on. I went back and I studied nutrition again and found this section on plant-based eating. And so for me, I firstly became a plant-based dieter and then found my way into veganism thanks to a close friend of mine. But yeah, I discovered that tumour growths can only happen in an acidic environment, and dairy happens to be one of the ones that accelerates your tumour growth to no end. Hence why I've had clients that have switched to a plant-based diet and their tumours have actually shrunk. Their benign tumours have shrunk, like fibroids in their uterus and things like that. So it really does affect your body, and cancer really only survives in an acidic environment, and meat and dairy happen to be two most acidic things that you can pop into your body, especially red meat and dairy. So that's really where I started, and that's how I got into veganism, and really haven't looked back since. I really did take the nutritional route, and of course there's all other added things like the environment. You know, it even is bad for the environment to have grass-fed beef. In fact, it's worse. So, you know, all the water that the animal agriculture uses, you know, all the grain that's fed to the non-organic grass-fed beef could be fed to the starving children. And yeah, it's, I guess you can equate veganism to a 69. Everybody wins. So. Next question. What? It's true.
What?
It's true.
All right. What was the hardest part about becoming vegan?
Definitely the hardest part about becoming vegan has been not getting on a loudspeaker and just screaming all the things that you learn when you become vegan to people. And definitely the hardest part has been friends and family who you want to help, who say to you, you know, I'm sick again, you know, I've got unexplained swelling in my knees, my ankles, and you know for a fact that if they went off the dairy, the acidic foods, that would help them. But you just sort of, you know, you sort of bite your tongue, and I think I don't have to, I know, but yeah, I think that's probably been the hardest part for me, is maybe people not listening to what I have to say, which is why I write on Facebook things and I put little articles up, and those things aren't shared just because I think, oh yes, that's good, you know, that's blah blah blah, saving animals, or that's you know, teaching people about health, but it's because I really want you to see it, but I don't want to sit here and preach to you about things. So perhaps maybe go back through my Facebook page and have a look at the things I've actually shared, because they are really informative and they are 100% true and researched. And I've had family members unfriend me from Facebook because they don't want to see it. And that has been really hard. As much as I say, if you don't want to see my posts, don't follow me. It is hard because I know that you can benefit from it. And I think that has been really the hardest part. Anyway, next question.
Very good.
Well, I kind of dodged a few things, but yeah, go.
What are the health benefits that you have noticed since you've become vegan?
Yes, I get this one a lot. And do you as
Yes,
well?
I do.
Health benefits, definitely. I have great skin. My skin is amazing. Like, it's soft. I used to, previous to being vegan, I used to have really itchy skin, and my neighbor can relate to that because was always scratching, and she's telling me to stop scratching.
Finally, she stopped scratching.
Yeah, I used to
Like a
drive
dog.
Michelle. Thank you. Used to drive Michelle crazy in bed every night, scratching myself. Other benefits, definitely, so much more energy. Energy is amazing. Increased libido. Do you know what that word means?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just checking.
I know it's out of my vocabulary. But...
Yeah, just definitely increased, sex drive. I don't get bloated anymore. Like, look, I just woke up and my tummy is completely flat, and that doesn't happen. You know, I was always bloated, as particularly around that time of the month. Other benefits have included increased muscle mass, which was really surprising.
Yeah.
Since I've been vegan, I've put on 2.3 kilos of muscle. And that's not increasing my workouts. Mind you, I have increased intensity just because I've got more energy. But yeah, that was a really big surprise, because people always say to you, you know, as a vegan, you don't get enough protein, but there's protein in absolutely everything. And this is the thing that people don't realize. And this is why it's important to have grains, and ancient grains, particularly like quinoa and couscous and all that sort of stuff. Because that actually has your complete proteins in it. Because people go, oh, but vegans don't get complete proteins. They're all incomplete proteins. And it's like, no, that's not true. That's why it's important to increase your grains with it. And this is the downfall with the paleo diet, I guess. It's because you're going against the grain. You're not getting the grain, which is why you do need to eat the meat. But is that healthy? Well, no. And you really need to look into that. But anyhow, we're talking about me,
Yes.
not you. And also, I've been toileting quite regularly, like sometimes twice a day. I used to...
Just a hanky.
Yeah, thank you. I used to... You're a dick. I used to probably go to do a number 2 maybe once every 6 to 7 days. So... that's bad, everybody. You should really go to the toilet every day. So if you're not, I know this is very personal, but if you're not, that there's something wrong, you know. You really should cleanse. Cleansing is good. And yeah, just happiness, actually. I used to suffer depression, and since I've been vegan, the only time I really do get down is when I feel like I'm not heard and I'm trying to help somebody. And I think that's the only time I get down now, but I'm certainly a lot happier as a person. I'm certainly, you know, I've noticed the change in the children because they are vegan with me for the 2 weeks, and then they go to their dad the fortnight, that weekend, and I find the kids, when they come back on a Monday, they've got tummy pains from eating meat all weekend. They've got acne, really bad pimples. My oldest daughter,
Poo
Sienna,
problems.
Poo problems, exactly. So I really do notice a difference there. So you do know So I challenge anyone to just go 1 month, 30 days, and I hold challenges all the time, 30 days without meat and dairy, and just see just how good your body can actually be on leading not such an acidic lifestyle, and, you know, cutting out cholesterol and animal fats, I think, is particularly a big one. You know, even lean meats contain a hell of a lot of cholesterol that you don't need because our bodies actually produce it. But this isn't a nutrition lesson. So anyway, next question. I feel great.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel very good.
Yeah.
What do you think about paleo and vegetarian diets?
Well, I sort of just touched on that.
Yeah.
And I do get asked this question at all because I don't consider veganism is a diet. It is a lifestyle, and it's definitely one that I will be following for the rest of my life. I'll never go back. I think paleo have kind of got it there, and as well as vegetarians, I've kind of got it there. But the interesting thing is when I meet vegetarians, particularly vegetarians that have gone vegan, and there's a lot out there, you know, people have been vegetarian for 7-8 years and not quite getting the full benefits because they're still consuming dairy, which dairy is, you know, if I had a choice, if I could only cut out one or the other, I would definitely cut out dairy as opposed to meat. And I know all the really ethical vegans are going to be like, oh, but that's terrible. Hear me out. Dairy does impact your body quite horrendously. It does. I don't know if you're aware because you might not have read my posts, but there's 750,000 units of pus that are allowed to be in dairy. Just, I know, due to cows getting mastitis, you know, they looked at decreasing the pus rate to 450,000 units, but it actually decreased the taste, and the taste wasn't quite there. So that taste is like you just drinking pus, and pus is quite inflammatory. That's why you shouldn't have it when you're sick. Speaking of sick, I haven't had a cold for a whole year.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I don't get sick anymore. And that's just due to cutting out dairy. So I think the problem with the vegetarian diet is I know that they're trying to do it for the animals, but it's actually more cruel to consume dairy because you're
dairy industry is just as bad.
Yeah, well, the dairy industry is probably worse than the meat industry. They, you know, take the baby cows away from them so that they can steal their milk, and you know, then they go to the veal industry. So when you're actually drinking dairy, you're supporting the veal industry, and for a lot of vegetarians, that's a big wake-up call to them. But also, I think from a nutritional standpoint with vegetarian diets, you're still consuming a fuckload of dairy. So you're still getting all that pus, you're still getting the inflammatory from the dairy, particularly cheese. You know, you're getting the high fat. And isn't the point of switching to a vegetarian diet to limit animal fats and things like that in your diet? So that's why a lot of people, when they turn vegetarian, they go, oh, I had to go back to eating meat because I wasn't healthy. You weren't healthy because you were eating cheese and dairy, and that was the problem there. So you were halfway there. Okay, paleo diet, I think they're there on a standpoint, an ethical standpoint. I think, you know, they like organic grass-fed beef, you know, that are treated humanely. But at the end of the day, those animals are still getting sent to the place where the animals are slaughtered that aren't organically grass-fed and treated nicely. So it's like you're getting them from their happy home that they've been in their whole life and sending them to the exact same place that the animals that are kept in factory farms are going. You're also, grass-fed beef is actually worse for the environment because they produce a hell of a lot more methane than grain-fed. So that's why they feed the grain-fed, apart from the fact that they grow a lot quicker on grains and they can feed them antibiotics when they get infections, so they don't have to put them down or put them to dog food, which is generally where all the dog food comes from. It's cows that have gotten diseased from grass-fed organic farms, and they have to go straight away into pet food. So that's why it's not good to eat pet food. Anyhow, getting off track a little bit, but with the paleo diet particularly, you're consuming a hell of a lot more animal fats and cholesterol. So it's not really ideal for you to eat. you're better off just cutting out the meat completely, and try to incorporate some grains, because carbs are good for you, you know. And in terms of weight loss, I think everything works. You know, a low carb, high fat diet works, and also a high fat, low carb diet works, because it's just the way it goes. You know, your body either is in a fat burning point of view, or it's in a carbohydrate point of view. When you mix your fats with your carbs, that's when you run into all sorts of trouble. That's why paleo is against the grain, because you're not having that carbohydrate. And I'm pretty sure paleo diets don't incorporate a lot of fruit because of the sugar, because it interferes with the meat, which is your fat and protein. So that's probably where the two sort of fall down. So that's why, and I think a vegan lifestyle is very, very good, because like I said, and we're going to get back to it, and I'm going to say it again, and Michelle's going to laugh, but it is just like a 69. Everybody wins. Everybody. Because you're saving the environment. You know, you're not having to produce animals on a mass scale. You're not having to either have them grass-fed and blah, 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 and organic and all that sort of stuff, which causes horrendous dramas for the farmers. You're not having to use as much water, because factory farms actually take a lot of water, and not to mention the pollution that they create. You're also eating well. You're not causing your cancers to enlarge and getting back to cancers, because I've studied genetics. I've done a lot of study over the last 4 years, and the recent study that I've been doing is on genetics. And you can have the gene, you can have the cancer gene, but in order for that gene to fire, it depends on your environmental load. And so that could be smoking, drinking, the fumes that you breathe from cars, your diet particularly is underestimated. So many people underestimate the fact that what you eat affects your body. And of course it does. Because if you eat shit 24/7, you're going to feel like shit, aren't you? If you eat living things like plants, sprouted bread, you're going to feel alive. So it does make a big difference. So if you're consuming a lot of death, which is dead animals, you're counterbalancing when you eat any life. So I think that's just been the biggest thing that I've got out of it. Next question.
What do you suggest people do if they are interested in becoming vegan?
Okay, so if you're interested in becoming vegan, I suggest watching a few documentaries to start with, which is what we started with, didn't we? We started watching Food Matters, Food Inc., Forks Over Knives. Yeah. Forks Over Knives was a really, really good one.
Fat, Sick, Nearly Dead.
Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. Finding people that can motivate you, and you're looking at probably one of the biggest motivators here. I will help you every step of the way. I've changed people's lives all over, not just Brisbane, but the world, actually. I've got a lady in Germany that I've been talking to. I met a lady in Switzerland who we've been friends on Facebook, and she's been, experimenting with veganism. And I'm not saying you have to do it overnight like I did. I just did it because I just went, wow, my eyes just opened completely, and that was it. But we're not all perfect, and I'm not expecting you to be perfect. But yeah, I think finding people that motivate you as well is just so important. I've got so many people that I found in my life, like Renee Thomas. She's a bikini competitor, and she's also now a plant-based practitioner. She lives in Melbourne, and she enters bikini competitions pretty much with about 8 days prep. That's, if you know anyone that's a bikini model fitness competitor, that doesn't happen. You normally have like a 12-week hardcore prep, and you have to do all this stuff. But having a vegan body is very simple to maintain your physique all year round. And that's not to say that if you become vegan, you're going to lose weight like that. No, you still have to eat healthy. There's a lot of vegan junk food out there, like Oreos are vegan, for Christ's sake. So you could eat Oreos every day. You could eat hot chips every day, providing they're not from KFC, because they're coated in animal fat. Churros. Yeah, we had churros last night, didn't we? There's a lot of foods out there that are bad for you. So you don't necessarily lose a lot of weight. But if you want to be a complete plant-based eater as well, then that's you know, of course you're going to lose weight and you're going to feel healthy and you're going to feel fantastic. Yeah, James Asprey, he's a great motivator. He is Voiceless 365, and I met him just recently. Amazing man. Holly George, she's a vegan naturopath in Brisbane. She is amazing. Who else is big motivators? All the celebrities out there. Like, you'd be surprised how many people are vegan. And Brad Pitt, Alicia Silverstone,
Jim
Carrey, he's vegan. Ellen and Portia de Rossi. Yeah.
Jim Morrison, the vegan bodybuilder.
Yes, Jim Morrison, who I met. He's a 78-year-old vegan bodybuilder. He's fantastic. Just find things like that. If you really want to discover like the ethical side of veganism, Lucent is a great film. It's produced in the Australian pig farming industry, and you'd be surprised what's going on there. And a little tip for everyone out there. It's been predicted that within the next 2 years, there's going to be a massive outbreak, bigger than bird flu, bigger than mad cow disease in the pork industry. So you probably might want to avoid pork. Avoid all meat if you can. But pork is definitely, and if you see the way that these animals are also raised, you will understand why the disease is so bad and why they have to have the antibiotics, you know, and hormones and things like that in your meat. Because meat's not the same as what it once was. You can argue all day till you're blue in the face, but my ancestors ate lots of meat and they were fine and they had longevity and all this sort of crap. Yeah, but it wasn't the same meat that we're having now. And of course, demand has increased and there's more and more factory farms, particularly in Australia. And everyone thinks factory farms are only in America. All you have to do is pop out to the Debra Animal Rescue and have a look there and just see, you know, how many cows and things are rescued from factory farms. Earthlings. That's where I'm going to leave this video today. Probably watching Earthlings would be a massive eye-opener. So if anyone wants to argue on the ethical side of veganism, you know, even the grain-fed, grass-fed and all those sorts of things, you get to see how these animals are killed humanely. And the egg industry, even the organic egg industry, causes thousands and thousands, billions of baby chicks to be just crushed into pet food because they're male and they're no longer needed in the egg industry. And that happens whether it's organic, you know, free-range eggs, they still destroy the male chicks. So that's pretty horrific. And to discover that, that's pretty vile. There's a lot of things that I've discovered, but unfortunately you need to dig into it, because I can tell you all about it and you're probably going to switch off, which is what most people do, unless you want to know. And I think, why wouldn't you want to know? I'm so glad that I know the things that I do now, as hard as it is to bear sometimes, thinking that I used to support this industry and I used to put this food into my beautiful body. You know, I have a newfound love for myself, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've got out of being vegan is I really look at what I put into my body now. And seeing your dad die of pancreatic cancer, one of the most horrific cancers ever, wasn't it horrible?
Yeah.
Just he was in so much pain, and if I can prevent that, which prevention is always better than cure, and we know that, then I'm going to do it. And if I can help anybody else to achieve that, particularly my beautiful children, I will do that. So I'm going to leave it with that. I'm going to leave you there with that. And if you have any questions about this video, please email me, message me. I know I get a lot of private messages because, you know, people are a bit scared of putting it out there that they're interested in veganism for fear of being mocked. Don't be scared. Just, there's so much support out there and I will be one of your biggest supporters. So happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
And Michelle's vegan birthday is coming up in 2 months. It took me a little while to help her make the connection. But yeah, we haven't looked back and we never will. So have a happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And thank you for listening. And I'll see you soon.